for making sourdough baguettes. So the first step in what we're going to do is make a levain, which if you have a sourdough starter, fantastic. If not, we're using one that I made in a previous episode. You can just I'll include the link below, and you can make that first. It'll take about a week to do. But yeah, so essentially we're taking that levain, that sourdough starter, we're adding some flour and water to it, and to get it active and ready to go into our main dough. So that's our first step. So once our levain is ready, we're going to get our main dough ready. So we're going to combine our flour, water, and we can add our salt later on. But once that mixture is all together, we can just we sprinkle our levain, break it up into little bits on top of our dough that we've already mixed, with salt, which I'd already added before I started filming. And you can use fine salt. I use flake salt, but you might want to just dissolve that a little bit in a little bit of water that you reserve beforehand, and then just give it a good mix, and get everything well incorporated together. And then you're going to do some kneading. So once your dough is rested, I'm going to pull it out onto your countertop. Now this is an 80% hydration dough, so it is going to be very sticky. So it is tricky to work with. It's good to have a plastic scraper that helps clean off your hands and clean off your board. And if you've got like a dough cutter as well with a straight edge, that's very, very useful. So what we're going to do is we're going to do about 10 minutes of slap and fold kneading, which is exactly as it's sort of, you pick it up and slap it on its bum and then fold over the top, if that makes sense. So we'll watch this for a little while. I've sped it up a little bit towards the end of it, so you can, if you are getting a little bit bored, but if not, you can just flip back for reference and have a look at what I've done. But it's you'll get the hang of it. It's not something that you master straight away. So after you've done the second knead, we're going to go into our stretch and fold. So your dough is going to ferment for 2 hours, and in that 2 hours you're going to three separate occasions you're going to perform 3 separate dough stretches and folds. So use your scraper, it's much easier. So you just stretch it up and fold it over and repeat that process. Then place it in the fridge overnight, and I left mine for 18 hours and had a fantastic result. Now the next day, you can pull your dough out put it on a floured board, and you're going to divide it up into 6 pieces. You can be very pedantic about it and weigh every single one of them. They're about 300 grams each. Look, I like things rustic, so I split it in half, and then I split each half into thirds, and they're near enough. They weren't perfect, but I kind of, like I said, I like it a little bit more rustic. I think it, you know, I wasn't baking for a bakery and selling to customers. I was making it for myself, and I enjoy the variation. I enjoy things that are a little bit different. So we are going to move into pre-shaping our baguettes. So you can see I'm shaping it into a ball. So basically you take your dough, give it a little flour, and then sort of tuck around the edges and to create sort of tension on the surface, and then shape them into round balls as you do that. I'll play this through and so you can see it a few times, but it's pretty simple. You just want to have that tension forming on the outside of the dough and tuck it underneath. It's pretty simple, but it can take a little bit of practice to get it right. Now, once we've let our dough come up to temperature, we're going to shape them into baguettes. Now, I've used a couche, which means sleep in French. So this is kind of like a little bed we're making for our baguettes. Now, I thought I'd do a bit of an experiment today and use most of the baguettes. I'm going to shape in a couche, but I've also got a baguette mold, which will bake our 2 baguettes in as well. And that just to give us a contrast. And actually, the results were really, really interesting. But yeah, so if you follow through with what I'm doing here, basically what you want to do is you want to fold over one half of your baguette to the center, the ball, sort of try to make it into a rectangle shape first. And then fold over to the center from one direction, and then fold over to the center from the other side, and then you're gonna fold over the whole thing again in half. Let's watch this here. So you're folding from the top down to the middle, and trying to close that in, and then from the bottom up to the middle, and then we're gonna take the whole thing from the top right over to the bottom and seal that joint down, and try to use the back of your hand. Now, this isn't something that I do every day or done very hugely in the past. So you can see as I've gone on, I've gotten a little bit better on it. By the time I got to my last baguette, I'd had a little bit more practice, and I was shaping them a little bit better than I had from the first one. But you know, you're gonna get freshly baked bread in the end, anyways, which is always going to be delicious. And that's really what you want, or that's really what I wanted anyways. So like I said, you can use the back of your hand or your palm to seal it, but try not to squeeze all the air out of it. Now once you've done that, as I'm demonstrating here, you just want to give it a bit of a roll. Try to use the tension that you're developing as you go on the countertop, instead of rolling it flat with your hands and squeezing all the gas out of it. You want to keep as much of the gas and the CO2 inside of the dough as much as you can to really create that crumb that you want from this kind of a bread product. Now we're coming to the next important phase. We're getting ready to steam our baguettes because we are going to bake them with steam. So there's different ways that you can do this. And what I'm doing is I'm soaking some little towels that I've rolled up in water, and I'm going to keep those to one side. So we're going to use a double sort of method here to steam them. I've also got a pan, an oven pan, that's half filled with stones. I've just bought pebbles at the dollar store, and I've filled up half of my oven tray with those pebbles. So we'll get this ready. So an hour beforehand, put your stones in the oven, on the bottom of the oven, and put the oven up as high as it'll go, and that's really important to get them nice and hot and ready to go. Yeah, so we'll get those ready. Next, we're going to score our baguettes. So traditionally about 4 or 5 cuts down the top. You want to have them quite not horizontal, but very straight up and down. And I've gone over them a few times here because I didn't quite get it right. You want to go fairly deep. Now I've just used a piece of cardboard here to try to get the baguettes off the couche. What I did learn is that I could have floured the couche a little bit more than I did, so I was loosening up, trying to get them onto that cardboard, but they were sticking, so there was a bit of to and fro happening here, and I was panicking that I was ruining the shape of them, but actually it was fine. Once I got them on the board, once I got them in the oven, it wasn't the end of the world. You know, it wasn't perfect. They did stick a bit to the couche, but yeah, once I got them on there and just tried to give them a little bit of a tidy up in the shape, they were fine. It wasn't as much of a disaster as I was worried it was going to be. Now it's time to bake, so it's important to get this process ready. So the oven is stinking hot. So we're adding our little towels to the other half of the tray now. Be careful, it's really, really hot. You might want to put a towel down on the glass of your oven door. There is a chance on some ovens that it could shatter if you get water on it. So I've boiled water in a kettle here, and I've got that ready. I'm sliding my baguettes in carefully. You want to be careful you've got the right size of your baguette so you're not going too big. Mine overlapped just a little bit there, but it wasn't the end of the world. So once you've got that in, I've got my kettle ready, and I poured it in, and be really careful, it's really hot and there's a lot of steam. So pour it in as quick as you can and close the door. And yeah, then your baguettes will bake, and when they're ready, this is what they look like. And they came out absolutely beautifully. I was really quite excited. What I did find interesting is that the ones in the mold didn't have nearly the result that the other ones did, that were just made in the couche. Now I've allowed it to cool down, and look, I think it's been a real interesting experiment today, but I'm really happy, even though it's not perfect. I'm happy with the outcome. I don't know if you can get this or not. But it's just beautiful. This is the kind of thing that makes me really happy. It's just so beautiful. And so yeah, it was a very interesting experiment. Trying the 2 different molds. But I was very happy with the crumb. I was very happy with the crust. I would definitely use more flour on the couche next time. But overall, it was fantastic. And I had it with my homemade cultured butter that I'd made in a previous episode, which I'll link as well. But look, I hope you guys have a lot of fun trying to make this yourself, because it's fantastic. Might take a little bit of practice, but that's the great thing with fresh bread, though, is even if you make a mess of it, it's still fresh bread and it's still delicious.